Greetings, friends. Welcome to Spooky Story Concert. Now, they're not scary stories. No, I don't tell scary stories. For one thing, children today, I can tell the most horrifying, frightening, blood-soaked story I know. And a kid will look up at me and say, "That's not scary." Well, so I say they're spooky. All right? Now, we're going to start off with some simple, what I call spooky gigglers. These are stories that you might hear at like a campfire, and they sound really, really, bad things are going to happen, and you get to the end, and you laugh. It's a joke. Well, then we're going to move into traditional folk tales and even some folk music. Then after that, we're going to go to urban legends, and we finish off with some stories that maybe the children ought to be in bed by then. Spooky gigglers. See, spooky gigglers, they're scary sounding, but they don't end up that way. Well, let me give you an example, all right? You see, Tommy was in a haunted house. He didn't want to be there, but, well, his friends dared him. And I know you're not supposed to take a dare, but he took the dare. And so there he was in the haunted house. And he looked around, and there was dust everywhere, and there were spider webs, and there was this long staircase going up. And he listened, and he heard something. Rap, 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 rap. And it was up the stairs. So where did he go? Up the stairs. And at the top of the stairs, he stopped and he listened. Rap, 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 rap. It was down the hall. And so where did he go? He went down the hall. At the end of the hall was a door. And he listened and he heard. Rap, 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 rap. It was in the room beyond the door. So what did he do? He opened the door. And in the room was a big chest of drawers across the room. And he listened, he heard rap, 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 rap. So where did he go? Across the room. Then he listened, rap, 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 rap. He opened the top drawer. Rap, 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 rap. It was empty. He opened the middle drawer. Rap, 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 rap. It was empty. He opened the bottom drawer. Rap, 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 rap. There, in the bottom drawer, he found a roll of wrapping paper. Not scary at all, was that? No, that's a spooky giggler. All right. Now, this story is about Linda. Linda was really upset with her mom and dad. You know why? Because they had moved to a new town because of her father's new job. And she missed her friends. And she missed her school. And she missed her teachers even. And the house. Ooh. She thought it looked like it was haunted. Yeah. And so after dinner, she brushed her teeth. She put on her pajamas. She got into bed, pulled up the covers, and she heard something outside the window. Scream! Scream! And she got up, opened the curtains, and there was a lady. A lady with long, stringy hair, red, smeary lipstick across her face, and long, blood-red, dripping fingernails. And this was on the second floor. How did she get there? And she said, "Do you know what I can do with these red, red lips? Do you know what I can do with these red, red fingernails?" And Linda jumped into bed, pulled up the covers, and hid. And when she looked, the lady was gone. The next day at school, it wasn't good. She dropped her pencil. She fell asleep in class. It was not good at all. Well, at home, after dinner, she brushed her teeth. She put on her pajamas. She got into bed and pulled up the covers. Scream! Scream! And she got up. She opened the curtains. There she was, the lady. "Do you know what I can do with these red, red lips? Do you know what I can do with these red, red fingernails?" And Linda jumped into bed, pulled up the covers over her head, and hid. When she looked, the lady was gone. She didn't sleep well at all that night. And the next day at school, they had a spelling test. She did really bad. And just everything went wrong. She spilled the milk at lunch. Just everything that could go wrong did. At home after dinner, she brushed her teeth. She put on her pajamas, got into bed, pulled up the covers. Scream! Scream! She pulled open the curtains, and there she was, the lady, with the long, stringy hair, and the red, smeary lipstick across her face, and the long, blood-red, dripping fingernails. "Do you know what I can do with these red, red lips? Do you know what I can do with these red, red fingernails?" "No, I don't. I'm tired, I'm miserable, I had a lousy day. What can you do with your red, red lips? What can you do with your red, red fingernails?" "I can do this." Oh, my. Well, now a lot of people will tell you a story, and I am one of the few people that will show you a story. We're going to use a nice right here. And it's going to be like a map. I'll show you where things are in the story so that you'll be able to understand. You see, in Happy Valley, a river flows. Beyond the river, 2 hills arose. On each hill, an old tree grew. The branches swayed as the cold winds blew. In this tree, a vulture sat. In the other tree was a big black cat, and mist swirled around Mount Fitch. But you can't go there because of The witch. Ah, that's the way things go, I suppose. This is one I learned at the Chaffee Zoo in Fresno. I was with some friends. We were telling stories near Halloween. And a fellow was listening, and he said, "Hey, I have a story." And he told this story. And I like it. And so I'm going to share it to you. Billy woke up. It was dark, and he heard strange sounds around him. He was in the zoo. That was it. He'd been to the zoo in the day and had a great time. He ran all around looking at all the animals. He had such a good time. And then he got tired, and he lay down on a bench underneath a bush. I guess no one could see him. And he fell asleep. Well, now it was dark. And now, what was he going to do? And he looked around. There'd be a light over here, and way down there would be another light. Not a lot of lights. And all the bushes seemed to be bigger, and he'd hear the strange sounds of the animals. And he's walking down the path, and he came to this one big cage with big iron bars, and in it was a gorilla. "What are you doing here?" "Oh!" No, it wasn't the gorilla talking. It was a zookeeper. He was in one of those electric carts. Yeah. He said, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I fell asleep and..." "Oh, dear. We'll have to do something about this. All right. I'll go get in touch with someone, and but you stay here. Don't go anywhere. Stay here." "All right." And he got into the cart and about to go in. "Oh, one more thing. Whatever you do, don't touch the gorilla." "Don't touch the gorilla." "Don't touch the gorilla." "Okay." And so the man headed off on the electric cart. And there was Billy. And there was the gorilla. And he looked at the gorilla. And the gorilla looked at Billy. And the gorilla reached out his huge, hairy arm. Don't touch the gorilla, right? That's what they told him. But, I mean, who would know, right? It was just him and the gorilla. And what would happen if he touched the gorilla? I mean, the gorilla was inside the big cage with iron bars. Yeah, right? And so Billy reached up and touched. And the gorilla stepped out of the cage. And you know what Billy did? He ran! He ran as fast as he could. And he's running and running. He can hear behind him. And he's running and running and running. There was a little building over there. He said, "Oh, great." And he ran over there. And the door was open. Good, he went in. You can lock it. Yeah. Room. Oh, there were steps going up. Yeah. So he ran up the steps, up the steps, up the steps. There's a door at the top. Yeah. It was locked. And just then... the door slammed open. There, at the bottom of the stairs, was the gorilla. And the gorilla sniffed. Brrr. And the gorilla sniffed. Brrr. And the gorilla sniffed. And the gorilla started up the stairs. Step by step he came, and soon Billy could smell this. Oh, it was so bad. It was like lima beans and a skunk inside an old gym sock. It was horrible. And then he was so close, he could feel that hot, stinky breath. Oh, and the gorilla reached out its arm. Tag, you're it! And the gorilla ran away. I like that story. I hope you do too. Now, traditional stories, folk tales. These are stories that, they've been around for a long, long time. In fact, this story is probably the oldest ghost story there is. It's over 2,000 years old. It came from China. And it's the story of how Lo Shen sold a ghost. Do you think you could sell a ghost? Well, let's see how Lo Shen did it. Lo Shen was really, really strong. That's what Lo Shen said. And Lo Shen was really, really smart. That's what Lo Shen said. And Lo Shen was really, really brave. And that was, well, you can figure that out part. Okay. One day, he decided to go visit his friend in another town. And they had a great time. He left his farm, he went over there. They talked, and they ate, and they drank, and they talked, and they talked, and they ate, and they ate, and they talked, and they ate, and they drank, and talked. And then he knows, oh, it's dark. I need to get back to my farm. Yeah, I have a lot to do tomorrow because I didn't work today. No, don't go. Why not? There are ghosts on the road. And if they find you, they'll do bad things to you. And Lo Shen said, I ain't afraid of no ghost. And he started on his way. And he's walking along, and it's dark. And it's cold. And it's windy. And after a while, he doesn't feel so brave, right? And then he noticed there's somebody walking next to him. And, it's always so much nicer in the dark if there's somebody else there. You don't feel so scared. Until he noticed that the feet of this person were 4 inches above the ground. What could it be? A ghost? Excuse me. Yes. Are you a ghost? Yes, I am. Are you a ghost? Now, what should he say? Yes or no? You know what he said? Yes, I am. That's good. If you weren't a ghost, I'd do bad things to you. Aren't I lucky I'm a ghost? And so they're walking along, and they come to a stream. And the ghost says, why don't you carry me across the stream? Okay. And the ghost climbs up on his shoulders. Doesn't weigh a thing. Not as much as a feather. And they go across the stream, and on the other side, the ghost gets down. Okay. And they're walking a little further, and they come to another stream. Look, I carried you last time. It's only fair that you carry me. That's fair. And so he started to climb up on the shoulders of the ghost. You're awfully heavy for a ghost. That's because because I'm just died. Yeah, I'm a brand new ghost. Just dead. Yeah, I still have the weight of the world on my shoulders. That makes sense. And so the ghost carried him across, and on the other side he got down. Lo Shen's walking along with the ghost for a while and says, look, like I said, I'm a brand new ghost. What can I do? What can't I do? Didn't you get the book? The book? What book? The book. It tells you all the things you can do, can't do, all your powers. I didn't get a book. Somebody is going to be in big trouble over this. Well, like I said, I didn't get the book, so what can I do? You can do many things. You're a ghost. Well, okay. Can I change shape? Yes. Can I become something big? Watch. An elephant. Wow. Can I change into something small? Little mouse. Squeak, 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 squeak. Can I turn into something beautiful? Angelina Jolie. Can I turn into something ugly? It looked a lot like me. I don't understand that part of the story. Well, anyway. Wow. Is there something I should be afraid of? You're a ghost. Ghosts aren't afraid. All right, something that I should watch out for? Well, there is one thing. What? Human spit. Spit? Yes. If a human spits on you, you can't change shape. You are stuck in whatever form you have. Wow, am I glad you told me that. Think of the problems I could have if I didn't know about that. Wow. Thank you. You're such a nice ghost. They're walking along, and the sun is starting to come up. They're coming near the village where Lo Shen lived. And the ghost says, I'm going to change shape for when I go into the village. I will become a sheep. This big sheep with curling horns. It's gorgeous. The fleece was like silver and gold mixed together. And Lo Shen said, I'll change to look like a farmer, because he was. And they went on into the village, and Lo Shen saw one of his friends, who said, Hey, Lo Shen, that's a really nice looking sheep. Yeah. Want to buy it? What did he do? He spit on the ghost. What happens if you spit on a ghost? He can't change shape, right? So, they got all to the middle of the village, got all their friends, and they had an auction right on the spot. And that is how Lo Shen became the man who sold a ghost. Over 2,000 years old. Now, this song is, well, it's a folk song. Somebody didn't just sit down to write it. It grew during the World War One, and this has been around since then. Parts of it you may know, but there's a lot of verses. I'm going to do the verses I like the best. Did you ever think, as a hearse goes by, that you might be the next to die? They'll wrap you in a big white sheet and lower you down about 6 feet deep. They'll put you in a big pine box and cover it over with dirt and rocks, and things will be fine for about a week, and then the coffin begins to leak. This is the part everybody knows. You can sing it with me. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, the worms play pinochle on your snout. They make a lovely Irish stew out of what the government used to call you. So, don't ever laugh when a hearse goes by, or you may be the next to die. Comforting thought, isn't it? Now, we go to urban legends. Urban legends, these are stories that people will tell you they're true. Yeah, well, it didn't happen to them, but it happened to the neighbor of a cousin who they met on a bus. They're also called friend of a friend stories. FOF, friend of a friend. Yeah. But people will say that these are true. Now this has been around for a long time. And in fact, it's been around so much that it was turned into a song that was on the hit parade. Now I'm going to tell the story version of it, right? See, Denny was on his way to the dance. He was driving his car, and it was a bad night. It was raining. Oh, it was horrible, cold. And he drove past the cemetery on the way to the school, and then he saw a girl walking in the rain. Yeah, she was walking along. And he stopped at the side of the road and said, do you need a lift? Are you going to the dance? Yes. Would you like a ride? Oh, that would be very nice. Thank you. And she got into the car after he got the door open for her. And, it's one of those that's kind of an old car, and you need to know how to open things. Yeah. Well, they were driving to the school, and he said, I'm Danny. And she said, I'm Lori. Nice to meet you, Lori. And she was awfully cold, but, it was a cold night. And they're driving along. They got to the school, and they went to the dance. They had a great time. They danced, they talked, they had some refreshments, they danced some more, talked a lot, and the dance was over. And so they got in Denny's car, and when they were driving back, and she was cold. Her arms were so cold. And so he said, look, and he took off his Letterman's jacket and put it over her shoulders so that she would warm up. And they drove to, and she said, this is where my house is. And he got her out of the car, and they walked up to the steps, the porch of the house, and they talked some more, and they kissed. And she went inside, closed the door. And he went back to his car, and he's starting to drive up. Oh, wait a minute. My Letterman's jacket. Yeah, she still has it. I'll go back, and that'll give me an excuse to talk to her some more, right? And so he goes up, he knocks on the door. He knocks on the door again, light comes on. The door opens, an older woman. Hello, I'm Danny. I just brought Lori home, and, she had my Letterman's jacket. I want to get it back. My daughter Lori died 10 years ago. She was on her way to the dance at the school on a rainy night when she was hit by a car. But I talked to her. I danced with her. She's in the cemetery near the fountain. Good night. She closed the door. And what was he going to do? He went back to his car. He's driving home. He's passing the cemetery. He stops. Now the cemetery, it's late. They're closed. So he has to climb over the fence. And he follows the path to the fountain. And he looks around. And he sees one of the stones, the headstones, the markers. It said, Lori Brown, the year she was born, and the year she died 10 years ago. And there, neatly folded on top of the marker, was his Letterman's jacket. Great old story. Now this story has been around too. In fact, if you go to the old Twilight Zone series, there's one of the episodes that this story is the same. Sort of. I've changed it. You'll understand why. She woke up because she heard something. And she went to the curtain, looked out the window, and coming up the circle driveway in front of the house was a hearse. It wasn't a car kind of hearse. It was an old horse-drawn hearse, all black, and the horses were all black, and there was a man all dressed in black up on top of the hearse driving it, and he stopped the hearse in front of the house, looked up and said, "There's room for one more." Well, and that's when she woke up. It was a dream. We're all fine. It took her a while to get back to sleep, but she did. And she woke up. She heard a noise. And looking out the window, there was the hearse coming up the drive. And the black horses and the driver stopped it, looked up. "There's room for one more." And she woke up. It was really hard for her to get to sleep. It was just, she tossed and turned, and finally she woke up. And there was a noise. She went to the window. The hearse, the black horses, the man. "There's room for one more." And she woke up. Well, it was time for her to get ready for work. And she got herself ready, and she went down to the train station to get the train into the city. And at her stop, she got off, and she went into the building, and all these people in the building, going to the elevators. And she's almost to the elevator, about to go in, and she hears, "There's room for one more." And she looks, and it's the man from the hearse, the man of her nightmares, standing in the doorway of the elevator. "There's room for one more." And she stepped back. And somebody else went in front of her and got into that elevator. And the doors closed. And it was gone. And she turned around. And she walked away. And she walked out of the building. Out of the World Trade Center. On the morning of September 11th, 2001. 9/11. Is that story true? There are people who tell you it is, because that's the way they heard it. You never know. Now, the final two stories are, you might want to send the children to bed now. Because this one is a story from the Hmong people of Laos and some in Vietnam as well. And it's a very, very old story because it starts over 100 years ago in a war that was being held to try and get the French out of the area. And Zong and Yer lived in two different villages. Zong lived over here. He lived there very nicely with his family. And Yer, she lived in the village 5 miles away. But when work was finished, Zong would leave the village, go the 5 miles, walk all the way, and he would see Yer. And they would sit on the stones around the village well. And they would sit and they would talk. And they would talk of their dreams and their love. And then he would go home. Well, one night, when he got back to home, there was a stranger in the house, a man in uniform. He said, "There is a war, and we need your help. If you are a true Hmong, a true man, then you will join this fight." And he said he would. But there was one thing he didn't want. He didn't want to leave Yer. And the worst thing was, in the morning he got up, and instead of going to work, he went 5 miles to Yer's village, and they sat at the well, and they talked, and he explained what had to happen. And she said, promise me that you will return, that no matter what happens, we will be together forever." What would he say, right? He said yes. He made that promise. And so he went off to war, and he was gone for a long time. Now, even though he was over there, things still happened in the villages, right? And there were tigers. And tigers came into Yer's village, killed many people, including Yer. Well, after a long time, he left He came back to the village, to his home, saw his mother and father, and they were so happy to see him alive and safe. And he said, here's what I am going to do. I'm going to get cleaned up, and then I'm going to go to yours village, and I will see her, to be with her, to let her know that I'm keeping my promise, that I'm coming back. No, you can't go. Why not? Because while you were gone, she found someone else. And she got married. No, I don't believe you. You're lying to me. She wouldn't do that. She would be faithful. No, she wouldn't. And he left the house. He ran 5 miles all the way to yours village, and it didn't look the same. The houses were kind of collapsing, and there was grass growing in the road, and there weren't any people. There weren't any animals. It was all deserted. And he went to yours house, and he knocked on the door. No answer. He tried again. No. I'm back. Like I promised. I promised I would return. And the door opened in the shadowy twilight. There was Yer. And they went and they sat on the stones of the well, the way they always did. And they talked. And he put her arm around. Oh, she was so cold. He said, no, let me make a fire. And he gathered some sticks and got his flint and steel and started to get the sparks, and it started to smolder, and she blew it out. He said, no, I can do this. And he snapped with the steel and the flint, and it caught. And he held his hand over to protect the flame until it was burning. And then he turned to her, to Yer, and Zong could see why she didn't want him to look at her. There were claw marks across her face, bloody claw marks, green fungus growing on it. And he backed up. No, don't go. You made a promise. You said you'd come back and we'd be together forever. What was he going to do? He said, look, I have to go. I have to go to the bathroom. Look, here's what I'll do. He undid the sash around his waist. You hold this end of the sash. I'll go behind the bush and do what I need to do. All right? And then you'll know that I haven't left because you'll hold the sash. All right. Hurry back. Yes, I will. And so he went behind the bush and he tied the sash to a tree. And he started to quietly leave. And she was holding the sash. And she waited and tugged on it to make sure he was still... Oh, yeah. It was still there. And she waited, tugged, and she followed the sash. And there it was, tied to the tree. You promised! You promised! You'll never get away from me! And she chased him through the jungle, through the woods. And he's running as fast as he can, that 5 miles to home. And she's running and after him. You made the promise! And he sees she's getting closer and closer, yards away from him, and there's a tall tree. And he climbs the tree, and she can't climb it. And she's at the bottom. You promised. You made a promise. You'll never get away from me. I'll have you. We'll be together forever. And finally, the light started to come in the east. And the sun came up. And when the light hit, she ran away softer and softer. You'll never get away. We'll be together forever. He climbed down from the tree, ran the rest of the way to his home. Mother, Father, why didn't you tell me? It wasn't her anymore. It was a demon inside her. Well, we didn't want to tell you. It just felt like it was too much for you to bear. And he started to get sick. Really sick. And they called the shaman, the wise man of the village, and he chanted over his song. And he waved his incense, and he held him. That demon has taken part of his soul. We need to get it back. To get it back, you must stay in this house for 30 days. Do not move. Do not leave. Do not walk outside. Do not open the door. You must, so that you may get your soul back, the hold she has on it. And for several days he did stay in bed. But he got better. He was feeling fine. But they said, no, you have to stay here. You cannot go outside. He heard people walking around and talking, and the animals in the village. But no, he had to stay in the house. 1 week, 2 weeks, he wanted to go. 3 weeks, he couldn't take much more of this. 4 weeks, it was the 29th day. 29 days. And his mother and father had stayed with him all this time, but their farm, their fields, they needed to take care of them, so they said, look, we must go out to the fields today, but stay here. Don't go out. Don't open the door. And his mother and father left. And as soon as they were gone, he got himself dressed. He got himself all ready to travel. And he opened the door. You made a promise. We would be together forever. And she grabbed him, pulled him to her. And he was never seen again. I have one more story for you. This is a story that I wrote a long time ago. I liked newspapers. I loved to read the newspaper back then. Yes, I would read, and my favorite section of the newspaper, well, a lot of people like the sports section or the funny pages or the front page. No. My favorite section was the wadads, the classifieds. And my favorite section of the classifieds was the personals. You know, people wanting to meet someone, people wanting help, people wanting... Well, I always hoped someday I'd see Kong, all is forgiven, Faye. But anyway. And one day I was reading the personals, and there it was. I could do it myself, but I won't. $1, box 312. Now, I said this is silly. I don't know why. The next day it was still there, and I did it. I put $1 in the envelope, sent it off. I knew it was just bye-bye. I was never going to get anything. But a day or two later, there was a package in the mail. It was brown paper and wrapped with string. I undid the string, undid the paper. There was a box, small box. I opened the box. Inside was a piece of rope, a pair of gloves, and a paper. And it was folded, typewritten, but it looked kind of creased in the creases. It was kind of faded, like it had been opened and folded many times. It said, I could do it myself, but I won't. If you will follow the instructions on this letter, I will be grateful. 1. In the next 2-3 days, go to my post office box. I will be there between 10 and 12 in the morning. Follow me home. If you get lost, go back the next day and follow me until you know where I live. Then, sometime in the week after that, take the gloves and the rope. Go to my house. Park about a block away. Put on the gloves and go to my house. The door will not be locked. I will be in a room facing away from you. The light will be so that shadows will not be cast on the curtains. Take the rope into your hands. Place it over the chair and over my head. I will try not to struggle. Strangle me. Make sure that I am dead. Leave quietly. You may dispose of the contents of this package at any time or in any manner you see fit. Thank you. That was many years ago. Newspapers, they're not the same, are they? And in Craigslist, there's been a notice for a couple of days. I could do it myself, but I won't. $1, box 643. You'll have to excuse me now. I need to go mail a package. Good night, friends.